Hey guys, it's Jay with Convention Video, and we're here with Karen Ashley. I am so happy. One of the Yellow Rangers from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Since we're at Blerdcon and we're focusing on geek culture, especially in the Black community, people of color community, the question is how do you, after being, in Mighty Morphin, how do you feel like you have, impacted the Blerd culture and seen how it's went?
Well, you know what? I'm honored and blessed to say that I was the first female action hero in a live action series. And I didn't know that when I was doing the show, because I was like, oh, there had to be other heroes, but we were always villains or we were always sidekicks. We were never lead characters. So for me, it was a beautiful thing to know that I was on the biggest kids show in the world and I got to be a hero. I didn't have to be the best friend. We saved the day. And that was kind of the beautiful thing about Power Rangers. It was always ahead of the curve. For the last 27 years, there has been a kid who has someone that looks like them that has been on this show. And to me, it's like we never really talked about race. We never did that. But it was the one thing that was so prominent on the show, and every kid was able to grow up going like, oh my gosh, Aisha, I look like Aisha, she has braids, or I look like Zach, or I look like, the many other characters that have come along. So for me, it's such a blessing to be a part of that.
Talking about Power Rangers, we know that there was meshing of combat videos and stuff like that from Japan. So the question would be is how did that impact, did you have to go in and dub in the studio?
Oh, yeah.
Or how did that work?
It's one of those things where we would literally work 12, 15-hour days, and then we would have to do hours of ADR. But even when we ran out of, I think in season 2, we ran out of footage. We ran out of Japanese footage, and they started shooting it all from scratch with our American stunt team and with our Japanese stunt team in America. We still had to go in because, if you're in a helmet and someone's going like this and they're talking and delivering the lines, you can't hear it. You're going to have to overdub it. Anytime we were outside, we had to overdub it. So we would literally work 12, 15-hour days, and we knew once a week we had to go in the studio, and we probably would spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours just doing voiceover. And we got really good at it, though. That's one of the things. Now we all kind of do voiceover work, and we're really good at it. It was because of all the hours of having to do Power Rangers, and we got so much practice. So it was cool, though.
Right. The interesting question that I thought about is you went from actress, then you went to producer, and then writer and then producer. So what was the process of moving through that?
You know what? For me, I always thought as a creative, it's a natural progression. I actually started in the business when I was 12, and I was in a singing group called Crush, and I was signed to A&M Records. So I was a full-on singing, performing, dancing, and I thought that was what I was going to do my whole life. And then I had an audition while I was in Crush for Sister Act 2, and I didn't get the part, but I got the acting bug, and I was like, I'm going to become an actress. I'm literally going to do that. And so I started acting, and I started working, and I was doing all my stuff, and after Power Rangers, I went into the real world, and again, Black actresses don't have the opportunities that other actresses have. So I was upset that I was always the best friend, I was always the funny one, or I always had to be these certain kind of almost stereotypical roles. And my manager at the time, he goes, well, stop complaining. If you want a certain part, write it. And so that's how I started writing. And then writing led to producing. So for me, I've always been one of those people who I thought, if it's not there for you, create it. And so the cool thing is now, in the 90s, if we would have had YouTube, I would have been producing, it was always so hard to get budgets to produce. And now you can produce your own thing. You can have a cell phone and some friends, and you can create a whole movie. So, that's kind of how it happens.
Right. Now, this one is the big one, and this is from a friend of mine. We had come up with this together. As you know, your participation in the No Hat campaign was phenomenal. As a gay male, that meant a lot. However, I will say people of color, especially who are LGBTQ, are extremely marginalized. So how was that? How was that seeing that you have affected your community, especially the people in your community that are LGBT, and the response you've gotten?
Oh, man, the response has been great. But, for me, it is so important for me to be an ally. I have family that's part of LGBTQ plus community. And for me, it's important for people to know that it's not just a hashtag for me, no hate. It's not that. I'm actually an ally. So that's why I always, like, every banner I've ever had, I always have the picture up there. I'm loud and proud ally for the community, because I know what it feels to be marginalized. I know what it feels to walk into an audition and you're the only black girl, and you know you're not going to get the job, but they brought you in only because they had to, you know. And it's I know what it feels like, where your friends who are, you know, and I'm not hating on any other group, but like if you go to an audition, they, you know, Caucasian actresses have 10 a week and you've got 2. You know, it's like those are they're big, huge disparities. So for me, it's so important for me to let the LGBTQ community know that they're loved, they're seen, and they're respected anywhere around me. So, and I'm here to march, I'm here to yell, I'm here to, you know, the way that I protect black men and women, I want to protect them too.
Right. And I appreciate that so much. One of the things, because Mighty Morphin was somewhat of a millennial show, you know, but at the same time, you know, you have this unique friendship with Kel Mitchell.
Yes.
And, you know, you had a role on Kenan and Kel. What was like working with those, you know, because Kenan is on SNL, and he's also brought back All That again as a producer. So working with those people again, how is that? You know, how is that relationship?
Oh my gosh. You know, it's so cool because I told Kel, like, Kel and I become friends after we actually have the same agent. We do cons together and all that cool stuff. But I told him, I was like, for me, it was like I was in a comedy acting school, like watching those guys. Like when you're a comedian on that level, and they started off so young, so they've been doing stand-up for so long, it's like normal actors like us, like we can be funny and our timing can be on point, but they're like on a whole nother level funny. So for me, I was just like, all I would do is react to what they were doing. And I was like, if I can react properly to what they're doing, then I'm in the zone with them, you know? But man, I like literally, Kenan just posted, I think it was like 2 days ago. He was like, Kenan and Kel turns 25. Oh my God. And I was like, I'm just like, all of us, like all these people like who'd been on the show, like literally I was reading the comments and all of us were like, how much of an honor it was to work with them. Like I was on one episode, but I remember that episode like it was yesterday. I remember laughing so hard. I became friends with one of the main producer, the executive producer. And one time we had dinner and his wife, she was like, you know, she was on Kenan and Kel. He's like, oh my God, I remember that. I remember that. Like we were laughing. Like that's how much fun we had, you know? So for me, I've just been so blessed to work on some really cool sitcoms, and I've literally worked with all the comedic greats, like Kenan and Kel. I've worked with Cedric the Entertainer. I've worked with Steve Harvey. I've worked with Mark Curry. I've worked with Monique. I'm like, how am I working with these hilarious people? Like, what am I doing? Please let me keep doing that right. But yeah, Kenan and Kel, I mean, all of them, the whole All That cast, like I was just like, we're all kind of the same age, and so we're all kind of friends, but I'm just like, how are you that funny? I just don't even, like, I don't even know how they do it.
I think for me that it's funny is looking back and I'm like, that was my first crush on TV, and I'm like, then when they came back for the renewal, and I was like, wow, we have gotten older.
It's cool. We've all grown up together.
We have. Well, you know, we wrap this up because I know you got other stuff to do today. But the last question, is there anything you would like to plug, talk about, what's going on, any new projects, anything that you can talk about?
Yes. Well, I've always got new projects. I'm actually working on a television series that I'm pitching to networks as we speak called The Order. And we're just pounding the pavement. That's a whole nother animal. Like, I feel like I'm starting my career over again, because I'm like, it's one thing to be a producer, it's one thing to be a writer, but when you're trying to be the showrunner and you're actually trying to sell the show, man, it's a whole nother hat. And so please pray for us. I keep telling everyone the world needs to, because this show needs to be seen. And it's actually a show about a group of vigilante assassins. And I thought, what are the best groups? Who could I cast as this amazing, like, vigilante group? And I thought, well, let me call some of my old Power Ranger friends. So it would actually incorporate, you know, reassemble the team, so to speak, of former Power Rangers playing this new group. And it's definitely not Power Rangers. It's violent. It's edgy. It's all the things we love in action films. So look out for that. But also, I have my own Comic-Con called Ranger Stop and Pop. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, we are celebrating our second year, and it's August 27th through the 29th. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, go online, get your tickets. We're going to have Power Rangers. We're going to have anime voice actors. I've got everyone from some of the original Mighty Morphin cast to the full cast of Time Force. Bulk and Skull will be there. I've got Chris Sabat from my Dragon Ball Z and My Hero Academia. I've got so many cool people coming to this show, and it's just going to be a fun weekend. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, Ranger Stop and Pop, go to rangerstopatlanta.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thanks, guys, for tuning in. Again, this is Jay with Convention Video with Karen Ashley, and we'll see you at the next con.
Yes. More good time.